It's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
Introducing the Blazor Power Hour.
No, seriously, it's time for Blazor Power Hour.
Hey friends, it's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
You're checking out the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
It's Blazor Power Hour. Go Ed!
Are you ready? Are you set? Got everything all ready to go? Let's do it. Let's do the Blazor Power Hour.
Hey, it's the Blazor Power Hour. Welcome, everybody. I've got a guest with me today. Everybody welcome Marin to the show. Marin is our support engineer at Progress on the Telerik UI for Blazor product, and even more than that, right, Marin?
I wear all hats, but I'm the support engineer, yeah. There's a few other guys that do this, and we also do docs. So if you don't like it, hate me, and let me know if you don't like something so I can fix it.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about some of the Telerik UI for Blazor stuff. We've been working on the Blazing Coffee app, and we did this on our Friday stream for a bit. And I've got notifications for things like creating a new record. If there's an error, we talked about that on the Blazor Power Hour couple weeks ago about empty states and error states. So today we're going to focus on kind of making a nice user experience around delete confirmation. So we're going to build a sort of delete confirmation dialog. And it looks like there you're back. We lost you for a second there, Marin.
I'm still trying to figure out the whole streaming thing.
It's all good. A quick question, Marin. Should I update Visual Studio right now before we begin? I'm kidding.
I don't really see the reason.
I'm joking. I mean, never do that on
hopefully,
live stream, folks.
Oh, on live stream, no. I was kind of hoping that it might fix the crashes you get.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm still experiencing that, and I've had people in chat tell me that they have the same problem. So, yeah. And we've got some folks giving you a shout out here in chat as well, Marin. So Telerik support is king, or the Telerik
I'm not
support
seeing
king.
The chat. What's wrong with all my streaming setup?
On the streaming setup here, we've got private chat and we've got comments up at the top right hand side. If you can't see those, then we'll have to talk after the show and make sure you can get in there and see the chat room.
I'm also looking at in a browser in the actual Twitch channel, so I'm hoping to see stuff there in the chat, but that's blank for me. I don't know what's happening there.
on our streaming on Code It Live, we are broadcast to Facebook, YouTube, and 2 Twitch channels. So you might not see all of the chat in the StreamYard app. You can see all of the chat rooms for all of the apps because we're fancy like that. We've got to syndicate everywhere because some people have firewalls at work that don't let them visit Twitch TV because it's related to gaming. So we broadcast on Facebook and YouTube because sometimes those aren't blocked, and we get some viewers from all around those different channels. So let's take a quick look at our Blazing Coffee app, which you can also find at demos.telerik.com. It's one of the main demos that you can find on that page. And when you open that demo, you can get a live version of this at demos.telerik.com. And we're improving this for our next release because we have some new components coming. And some of them may actually make the work we're doing today obsolete, but it's still handy to show how to do these delete confirmation dialogues because even though we're going to build it into the grid, you may want to do this for just a form or other components that might not have it integrated. So it's still good advice, and that's what we're going to do today. We have this Blazing Coffee app. It's kind of the obligatory line of business application. Has a couple dashboard items and a CRUD screen to do some data entry and stuff. And that's one of the things we're going to do. But let's show where it's at today. So I've got the Manage Products screen where I can add a new product. I can edit a product. And we can, select from drop downs and that sort of thing. And if I hit delete, it will just instantly delete the item. And we do get a nice notification that we deleted the item. But what we might want to do is put an extra step in here to make sure that users don't accidentally delete things when they didn't intend to, right? So, Merritt, what should we use to do this? Are you thinking Telerik Window?
Well, I'm thinking that the window is going to be the thing to use because it's modal, so it kind of blocks everything until you resolve it, so you can't click the delete button 100 more times in the meantime.
Yeah, so if we go to the demos page and we look for window here, this is going to be under layout. So window, it looks like it's updated already. What did we update?
We just started the draggable feature, so I can now move it around on the screen.
Very nice. So inline editing. Oh, I'm looking at grid. Window, there we go. Yeah, so this is part of our next big release, but we re-release incrementally within those large releases. And we have the nice draggable feature now. That is so awesome. This is something that users wanted and asked for. And I can understand why. This is very helpful, especially if you have like a multi-window scenario, or there's a piece of UI that it's hiding. Maybe I need to get to these checkboxes and it's hiding those. You can, drag it out of the way and get to what you need.
Speaking of multi-window interfaces, that's something else that we're going to enable pretty nicely in the next release. That's coming in roughly a couple of weeks. So right now, when you have more than one window on the page, they can kind of overlap each other and you don't really control that. Mm-hmm. The next release, the one you just clicked last, is going to be at the top. So you can switch them out just like in your operating system, just like you do in Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever you're using.
Very nice.
So that's going to be a real true multi-window interface now.
Yeah, our engineering team is phenomenal. They always pull off stuff that I never never imagined like Blazor be capable of. So we have multi-window coming. We have draggable here now. We can control things like the dimensions of the window. We can minimize, maximize, all of those sort of things. Some of the stuff that might be helpful to us today is our positioning. So we can do center. So if we have a modal dialog, we might want to make sure that it comes up in the center. We might want to
modal
control
does it by default, by the way.
Oh,
so if you don't tell it to be anywhere else, a modal also at the center, just by itself.
Okay. So what are some of the other things that modal might have by default? Is the close button by default with that as well?
Oh, no, the commands and the title bar and the content are all something that you opt in. Okay. So you just get the modal overlay and the position, and then it's up to you to say, can the user close this or not? For example, in our confirmation dialog, I think that our user is not going to be able to close the dialog with just that X button at the title bar, for example. I'd rather give them two buttons to make sure that they understand what they're choosing. Also, that's what browsers do. The browsers don't give you an X button in the title bar for the confirm dialogs.
Okay, so if we're going to do a confirmation dialog, we'll have, oops, wrong annotation tool. We'll have our dialog pop up, and then what you're saying is throw a set of buttons on the modal, one for confirm and one for cancel.
Yep.
So it's a confirmation dialog box, which there is one built into the browser, but those are kind of ugly. They don't match the application. We'd have to call into JavaScript to take advantage of it. So there's a lot of reasons not to use that built-in one. You see those pop up here at the top. Matter of fact, we might be able to hack this really quick just inside this frame. If we do a little JavaScript, if I can remember this off the top of my head, and I go into my console.
I can remind you if you don't.
Is it window dot alert gives us the alert.
Yep.
What's the other dialog?
It's the confirm and prompt.
Confirm. That's probably the one I'm thinking of.
Yes, you need to confirm now, so that only takes a message now in the browser version.
So you can do that. And that's not very user-friendly, is it? So you could use something like this. And you could say OK or cancel, and that would delete the item. But we want to have something that looks like it came from our app and looks and feels like our app and has the same theme and whatnot. So we'll use the Telerik Modal window. Another nice thing is you get keyboard navigation and those type of things with this as well. So I'm not sure what the internal browser dialog gets, but we do have accessibility covered in ours as well. So you don't have to worry about either losing accessibility or not having it by using the Telerik Modal window. So I think the best thing to do would probably be to start with just the example that we have here and start working this in to our app. So we've got a little bit busier of a page than this on our application. So we should be able to work it in pretty easy, though. It's not that difficult, I don't think. First of all, does it matter where we put this, Marin, since it's a modal dialog?
No.
So we can kind of just slap this anywhere. So we'll take the, we don't want the button so much. We just want the window portion of this. So we'll grab the Telerik window out of it. We'll drop it down here at the bottom of the page. We've got a class of demo window. This, I think, is so we can control the Z index if it doesn't show up where it needs to be.
Yep.
Okay.
So the class for the demo window is, I'm sorry, I'm fiddling with windows and stuff, trying to look good on camera and failing. Yeah,
IRL windows.
It's tough being a streamer. Yep. And so what you need, the class here is, we got it in the demos because the demo layout that we get from our designers has a few items that have a humongous Z index value, which is more than we think most applications will have, and that's why it turns out to be more than the default Z index value of our window. So yeah, if your designers did that as well, you can kind of get the better of them by just a simple CSS rule.
Yeah, because in these demo apps that we have, it's kind of a complex setup here. We have a content management system. We've got, these large mega menus that drop down. We've got menus over here that pop up. There's a lot going on this page that, you know, different systems are being combined together and they might have different style sheets and different Z indexes. So when we pop up this example modal on this page, we got to make sure that we're not blocking that, or if this is somehow showing at the same time, which I don't know if that's even possible, but still, you get the idea. There's things going on. There's a lot of things going on here. So that can happen in your app as well. So that's how you can use the CSS value to override that. And we wouldn't put this in line here. This is for demo purposes. We'll take that and stash it away.
I think that we might not need that at all right now.
Okay, let's go ahead and comment.
Let's try to do without it.
Yeah, we'll leave it there in case we need it. It's a good idea, Marin. You said centered was on by default, but it looks like we've got it enabled in the demo. So do we
just
need
to show it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit.
Doesn't matter. We'll keep the modal. This is the important key part here, though. This modal equals true is what enables the gray background, and it Z indexes everything, at least to the point where we can't click on anything that's behind that gray area, so we don't inadvertently open something or close the window or pop something up over the top of it. So that's going to be a really important thing, is to set that modal value there. And then to hide and show, it looks like we're using this bind attribute.
Yep.
Cool.
It just goes entirely through the view model. You can just toggle that Boolean variable and show the window, hide the window. It's all up to you.
Yeah, so this leaves it very open-ended, and I like how you said view model there. It's kind of a topic that we were actually discussing the other day. Like, do you use MVVM with Blazor? What type of other like frameworks do you kind of overlay on top of this? And we were having like a kind of an internal discussion on, you know, Blazor is very like MVP or model view presenter on its own. So in our case, we don't have like a view model per se, but we have these, you know, state values that are just sitting kind of up here at the top of the app. This is basically our view model for this view. Whether you put this all in a class that you call your view model, or if it's just the private properties of the component itself, it's really easy to control this dialog, but just by binding some values to it. So we did say that we had some like error states and things. You can see there's like, is it loading? Does the page have errors? Is the ID column visible? And then we just need to add in here with the rest of these flags for our page. Let's see. What should we call this? Like,
confirming progress? I don't know. Naming is hard.
Yeah, I know. This is the hardest part. We'll just say show confirmation dialog.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and just, this should initialize as false, but we'll go ahead and just reassure that that is false. And this also lets other developers know that that's the initial state here. So we want this to be false very explicitly. And then once we do that, we can take this this flag and just set it there. So now we're data bound to this show confirmation dialog Boolean value. And then we can really quickly, I guess we could have taken the example from the page here. I left it out, but we can just throw a button on the page just to test this out really fast. And we can just stick this up at the top. And I need to change this value here to set the show confirmation dialog to true. And then we can rerun the page, and we should be good to go here as far as getting that value to show up, or that window to show up. So there's my button just kind of jumping off the page there. But you can see already the progress that we've made. The the modal dialog, I was talking about this on the demos page. And then we've got Rick in the chat. Hey, Rick, welcome to the show. We're talking about delete confirmation dialogues in our applications today. So far we've got our modal pop-up on the screen. We're using the Telerik UI library for the whole application. So what's nice is the modal dialog has already adopted the theme from the SAS files that we have in the app. So this Blazing Coffee app, if you haven't seen it before, we've got automatic theme detection. So it's picking up a dark theme from my OS. And I can also override this and say, give me the light theme for this app. And if I reopen that modal, we've got the light theme for that modal dialog as well. And that's all because of the Telerik UI libraries. Its theming capabilities are quite nice. And
so let's go back to dark now.
Yeah, let's go back to dark. Let's quit hurting people's eyes. We'll go back to the dark. And then we'll take this open modal. What we want to do is actually just open that modal when we click on the delete function here. And then when we close it, we don't want to just close the modal, but we want to go ahead and activate that delete method that we're going to kind of delay for a moment.
Yep.
So we've got this example of how to open the dialog. We don't really need that anymore. We know it works. If we scroll down just a little bit, if Visual Studio hasn't locked up on me, there it goes. It's locked up. This is the bingo portion of the show where you either have your bingo card out and you mark off the spot where it says Visual Studio is going to crash, or you play the drinking game, whichever time zone you're in, I think applies here. So, Marin, it's what, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think you're
it's like 4:30, so I can do either.
You can do the drinking game version. Take a shot every time Visual Studio crashes.
Let's see if I can make it till the end of the stream, though. It's risky.
It is.
The risks of live TV.
Sometimes it helps if I close the app out. I don't know if that is just voodoo and it actually helps. It did clear it up again, so may have something to do with the app running. Which I'm not running in debug mode, so I'm not sure exactly if it's a IIS Express thing or what it is, but it's not a debugger. So I don't know. That's for the Visual Studio team to figure out, not me. Anyhow, we'll scroll down here, or scroll up rather, to the grid. And I've got in the grid my delete commands. Those are where? There they are. So I've got my delete command, and oh wait, actually, I have my delete command defined here, but the actual invoking of that command comes from up here in the settings, right? I wonder if it's better if I move this command column, or that's going to physically move it, isn't it? Yeah, I don't want to move that up, but this is where we tie together. I was thinking of the toolbar, not the command bar or command column. The command column methods come from the Telerik grid settings up at the top. So we have on edit, on update, delete item, create item. We want to take this delete item and look at the method for it.
Now I'm wondering whether I should let you fry for a while or give you a hint on how to go about this. I'm very torn between these.
I'd rather have the hint. Yeah, go ahead.
So now what we need to do is decouple the built-in grid functionality from the actual data operation that we're doing. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to give you all those events so you can do anything you want. If you want to do the data operation immediately, boom, you do it just like you're doing right now. And if you want to apply some sort of logic or something more complicated, you can just extract your own logic. So everything from line 221 onward in this method can just go into its own method. And we don't need to use that through the delete item command of the grid. what we need is the data item, right? The ID actually of the data item that we're going to delete. So we need to decouple ourselves from what the grid does for us, because we no longer want the grid to do it for us. Oh, wait, actually, I have a better idea now. What we want to do is we can keep that in place. See, I told you I had a couple of ideas. I think that you can get away with not touching that code at all, actually. I think we can get away with that. So there is another neat feature that we have. Our command buttons, the grid command buttons, have an on-click handler. And that thing fires before the grid command that it actually invokes. Okay. So you can do some logic if it's synchronous logic. I mean, if the method is not an async void method that will run to completion before what you're doing happens, it will basically await what's happening in it. So we can probably get away with binding to the on-click handler, on-click event of the delete command button, and canceling that in case we don't get a confirmation from the user. So what we need to figure out is how to show the dialog, await the execution from the user, the decision from the user, and then go back to the method and cancel it or not cancel it. So if we can do that, we can still keep using the onDelete command of the grid. If we can't do that, we'll then have to decouple things.
So let's show a little side-by-side visual for a second. Because I get what you're saying, but I think folks watching might have a little disconnect because they may not be using the components themselves yet. So in the grid, what we have is a column that has all of the delete and edit functionality in it. So if I use my little annotation tool here, there's this column which corresponds to the grid command column. And if I click on one of these buttons, it will invoke a default behavior, which is to trigger what is bound to the on edit, on update, on delete functions of the grid. And what Marin is saying is we can also apply a event delegate to the button itself. So we can say on delete, when the button is clicked, do some kind of function like pop up our modal, and then it will also fire the on delete method that's built into the grid after our custom method has completed. So in theory, this should work. There is some kind of gray area around the asynchronous behavior of it, though. So we'll have to see. I think this will work, but we'll have to make sure.
I'm not completely sure how we can make it work, especially if we want to do it to make it reusable. But if we wrap that in a component, we can definitely do it. But then we'll have to replace the delete button with our custom delete button.
So another thing we could do is we can just change the on delete item to show the modal, and then let that method decide if it's going to delete or not. So what we can try first is we'll go into the command bar and set an on click event. And we could say show delete confirmation, but I'm going to make this uppercase because it's going to be a function, not just a Boolean value. So we'll go ahead and create a method. I don't think this has to be async though, right? Show.
Maybe.
Because all this actually is going to do at first is just toggle that dialog.
You gotta give it some event arguments now. So we can get the item and cancel the command. It's the grid command event args. It's the same.
So it's going to give us
same signature.
Same event args here. So the first thing we want to do is show. Oh, geez, I can't type today. We want to show this. And it looks like we've got a tip from the audience here too about why Visual Studio might be locking up. It has something to do with resources in IIS. I don't see, maybe there's some finite resource that's part of IIS that's getting used up, but this is a pretty heavy duty machine. I can't see that IIS is using up my resources. I've got like 64 gigs of RAM and pretty powerful processor here. But that doesn't mean there isn't some internal resources that it has that get locked up. So we have to show the dialog, and then the modal dialog box, we need to add those buttons to it. So that's the part that we don't have yet, right?
I think that we also need to make sure that this command doesn't continue on to delete. So we should cancel it first to make sure that we don't get the deletion behind the scenes even though the dialog has come up. So we should set the args.isCancelled to true. And then I think we'll have to start adding some if blocks and flags around this.
So we'll go ahead and cancel the embedded delete function for now.
Yep.
And
so right now we can't delete, but we're going to definitely get the dialog. So we can add buttons to it and figure out how to make these buttons continue the execution there.
Let's see. Let's minimize that for a little bit. That's a lot of markup. So we've got our dialog window. We want to add a couple of buttons to this. So is that something that we just add inside of the window content?
Yep.
So there's not a like a command bar or anything in this?
Nope. It's just the content where you do whatever you want to do. Okay. We've got three things: the title, the actions, and the content. And the title is just the text you get there at the left-hand side of the title bar. The actions go on the right, and then the content goes below.
And then the actions are the little buttons that are up top inside of this area here. So we'll have to add our own buttons to the bottom. So we'll just throw a div here real quick. We might want to style it. And then we want a Telerik button. And then I'm going to say the IntelliSense is popping up where I don't want it. Primary is true here. That'll give it the theme of the primary button. And this one, should we say like confirm, okay, something like that?
I think okay or yes is a pretty good text for that.
Actually, we'll do this. We'll make it very explicit. We'll say yes, delete. Yeah. And then we want another button. And then, oops, God, I hate when it does the full namespace like that. We have another button. This one we won't set the primary value on because that the light gray button will be the, or the lighter of the two buttons will be the cancel. So we can say confirm or cancel, and then we want to also put a different message here. And this is where capturing that item to delete and setting the value somewhere is going to be handy. And I know you said something about maybe putting this in a component. This might actually be a good use case for a component, but I don't know if we're
I think we can do it without a component right now. But I think because I personally would like to show in the message, like in the paragraph we got there in the window content, I'd want to show what I'm going to be deleting, to let the user know, are you sure you want to delete product X? Yeah, exactly. So I would put a field for the current product that we're going to delete so we can use that in the markup. And that's also going to make it very easy for us to invoke the deletion from the yes button. So I think, yeah, we're going to decouple the built-in onDelete handler from the grid after all.
Yeah, so we need to store this somewhere. So we're going to take and just set a value here. Actually, I'm getting a little creative idea here too. What we might be able to do is if this is not null, then show the delete dialog, but we'll do that later
Yep.
if it fits. So
Exactly.
we can say here, are you sure you want to delete? And then we would put in the product to delete dot SKU is the name in this context.
Cool.
And that'll show the product name. So we can put that there. I'm going to put this in parentheses so I can throw a period after it. There we go.
Maybe you can do a question mark instead of a period.
Oh, yeah. That's
Just the
actually a
grammar
lot
not
better.
seen me talking.
No. It's always fun when it's somebody that's correcting you on your English isn't a English speaker natively. There's
I
no
think they
sense of
make us
irony
look more
lost there.
grammar than you guys.
I love it. Let's see. So we've got a message that shows this modal window title probably needs to be changed too.
Yeah.
And this one should say something like, let's just put, are you sure for now? Maybe we can come up with a better title later.
I would
or
actually
maybe-
delete the actions too. Like, I don't want that manual
No
close button at the
actions.
top. Yeah, I think it's going to make it harder to handle without adding actual benefit.
Maybe something like that. Some of this verbiage might
Sounds
change.
good to me.
One of the other things we'll actually have to do is localize this. So you'll probably see in the final version of this, this paragraph here will end up being something like string.format, and then it will be some localized value, and then we'll pass in the item here like that. So that's probably what it will end up looking like at the end of the day. But to get this done on the show today, let's run with the hard-coded delete message. So we should be able to pop this up right now, but our buttons aren't hooked to anything, so it won't really do anything, right?
I think there's
Let's
a
give it a
very
try.
easy way to hook them up. We can just call the current, what's called the current on delete handler from the click handler of the yes button, because we
What
got
just
the item.
failed. Something failed to build. What failed to build? I see a red underscore somewhere floating around. Oh, there we go. The method name changed or something. What is my method that we're trying to call?
Oh, we
to
have a
pop that?
typo.
Yeah, I typed something in show delete confirmation dialog. And I think I forgot the word delete in there. There we go. Cool. So let's see what we've got. Just to give us a quick sanity check. And manage products. And if I hit delete, I get an exception. That's not intentional.
Let's see what we broke.
Oh, I know what it is. So we've got a null ref. So we're trying to pass that value, but I never actually wrote the code to do it. So
Forgot to populate the product.
Yeah, exactly. So when we receive our event args, we can just steal this line of code from the top and say that the args item is equal to the product, but we actually have a placeholder for it, so we don't need that. We need the product to delete, and then we can set that. And that should satisfy that, that value not being null. Now our code compiles and our app runs. We close some of these so we don't get Visual Studio hanging again. If I hit delete, there's our pop-up. Are you sure you want to delete espresso? No, we don't want to delete espresso. That's one of my favorite things. So let's not delete that. So we've got a message, but it's not very helpful yet. So we need to put a couple more functions in here. the fact that we have this kind of placeholder item, I think is going to work in our favor, right?
Yep, very much so.
So if we go back here and we say, let's take care of cancel first. That'll be the easiest one, right?
Yep.
So what we can do with cancel is
let's actually take care of the visible parameter first, so we can make the cancel even easier. How does that sound?
That sounds good. So
we want the window visible only when we have to confirm something. So let's do the visible as a no check for product to delete.
Okay, so let's do this. We could say show confirmation. Instead of setting it to true, we can say product to delete is show confirmation is not null. Or actually, can we get really fancy? Is not null. Does that work these days?
Do you know why I hate this? I hate this because it reminds me of Visual Basic. It just grinds my gears.
So this is a new C# 9 feature. So if you haven't seen this one yet, it's basically the same as saying this. And we've got some folks in the chat room saying hello. Deflux K, thanks for the shout out. All right, so we can check it in. Basically what I did here is if you're maybe a little newer to C#, this line of code, it was just a simple bool value, and it was a field. And by using a lambda here, I changed it to a read-only property, and that read-only property is getting its value from a field called product to delete, and if it's null, then it's false. And since it's a property now, we should probably appropriately uppercase that value. So here, let's put a little space around this. We can focus on these two.
Actually, if we want to save lines of code, we can even skip that Boolean property in line 134 and just do it in a simple lambda in the visible parameter of the window itself. We don't need it anywhere else, so we can just drop the bind visible and just say visible equals and use the lambda there.
So we can take this and we can drop it right here.
Yeah, I just have to remove the bind portion though, because this is no longer a field. And the bind, just delete bind and dash. We remove the close button from the title bar, so the user can't change the visibility of the window anymore anyway.
Correct. So that'll cut down on the amount of code that we have. Let's see, what is this warning us of? It's a non-nullable field, must be. Yeah, we get that. We're working with that. The compiler wants us to do this. Oh no, I have that backwards. It wants us to let the rest of the world know that we're working with a nullable value. And then we could also do, we could switch this up with that nullable operator and say,
dot has value.
Dot has, why is it not giving me the has value? Has value should be there now, right? I thought that's how nullables work.
Does it not have has value?
It's not showing it.
I think we can go back to the equals expression.
Yeah, let's do that. Maybe because it's a class. I thought that just kind of tacked it on though. I thought that added it to that class for us. Anyhow, it does want us to signal that we are using that. So we could take that line of code out, because essentially setting this product to a value has the same effect now. I'm trying to read this question in the chat room. I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse. Can you throw a Blazor challenge, because I'm drowning in bad documentation, data guides. And so what exactly are you looking for? I'm not sure if I get the question, but if
in the meantime, you know, I think,
or if you have a
in the meantime,
question,
I think I'll prep some resources for you, man, to get started with Blazor.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff from our own guides as well as some other stuff in the community that we can share with you. So we're going to show the confirmation. Canceling it now is as easy as setting that item back to null, right? So what we can do is say we can put the code right here if we want. I don't know if I want to do that, but we could try it and see how it looks. I believe we need to throw a lambda at it to do this right. And then we could say product to delete equals null. We could set it right there in the button click. I don't know if I like hiding logic like that. This one doesn't bother me so much because we're just setting a visibility state, although it is still kind of hidden to me. I can't see it in I can't see where that value's getting set without looking up at the markup. I don't know if I care for that either. It does make it less code, but also kind of hides it a little bit. So that one's debatable as well. But this one, I really don't know if I care for. I don't know if I think I'd rather have a visible method that I know does something, and it's still a very small piece of code either way. So if I come down to the same region where we're showing the dialog and we just say void cancel delete, and then I can just throw it at a lambda expression the same way and say show product to delete is null, and then I can just use that method up here. When we're working on this from a code behind, some of this will make a lot more sense. I think we should actually convert that if we have a few minutes too. Or maybe we'll get to that Friday. So we'll throw cancel delete here. And then what should we do to handle the actual delete part, Marin?
So I think this is where we should decouple from the grid a little bit. So now we need the code that we have hooked up to the onDelete handler. We need to execute that in our primary delete button click event. So we should probably first remove it from the grid onDelete handler, and then we can probably also decouple it from the grid command event args. It's going to work with the product to delete. So
okay,
this method will become just a little shorter too.
I don't use this function very often, but I'm going to split this window real fast. And then we can scroll up independently here. If I have to do this, this tells me it's time for a code bind. So what we're going to do is take off the onDelete function from the grid. It's not going to handle it inherently anymore. We're going to handle it ourselves. And actually, Mike, go back and change that in a minute, but for now we'll take it off, and then we can go down to I already have it open here. We can go back down to our code, and then since it is not in this section anymore, we don't need this args. The args is handled by the method show delete confirmation dialog. So the args no longer make sense here, and then this args item, anywhere we see that, we need to replace that with product. Come on, undo. There we go. Product to delete. Bad keyboard work here. Product to delete, enter, and I can remove this line, and then that successfully renamed everything that is referencing that item. And then finally, what we need to do is call it from here, right?
Yep. And there's one more thing to do. We need we need to delete it too, so we can close the dialog.
We need to call it from here.
No, from the click. No, from the yes button. We call it from the yes button.
Yeah. I almost put it on the original method that pops the window. That would have been bad. That would have been the opposite of what we wanted to do. So there we go. So that will actually delete the item. This will cancel, and this is telling me it potentially could be null, even though we know at this point it shouldn't be null, but just to make the compiler happy, we'll do that. We
and
still
I
have,
think we should also reset. We need a question mark there, yeah.
What is that thing popping up here? What is this error? Line 11? I don't understand what it's seeing.
In line 10, you need
something.
There is a missing bracket. There's a missing curly brace in line 10.
Oh, I must have accidentally hit the delete button somewhere.
Guess so.
Yeah, I must have fat fingered it on the keyboard and made that break. So I think this is all done, right? This should work.
We need one more thing. We need to clear out this product to delete.
Oh yeah.
Nice in the delete item, just like we do cancel, so we can even call cancel delete if we want to be kind of lazy. Because cancel delete is going to do the cleanup in the end if we need to do more cleanup.
So delete item. What we should do here.
It's a few lines up. We need to be into the delete item function.
Is there a little bit of delay? This is the delete item.
Oh yeah.
This is where I was looking
I think we have like 30 seconds between us.
Okay. So I'm actually going to throw a try catch in here. Because we're going to add some confirmations in here as well. So what we want to do is we're going to do HTTP call. First of all, if this is, there should be no way to reach this without this being null. But this is still warning us that it could be null. There's no way really to have this happen though. If it's null, it shouldn't get here. So it's that nullable still gonna nag us. I wonder if I can do. Is the compiler going to be happy with this? Product to delete is null, then just reject this whole function. Does it see through that? Does it? Yes, the compiler gets it. Okay.
By the way, I don't know why you get that warning. On my end, I don't get all of these null warnings like you do.
Really? Maybe you have it turned off.
Maybe. I don't think I've touched my settings though, so I think you have it turned on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so it's throwing these nullable warnings because it is a nullable type. We know that it can't get here. I mean, we could actually disable those warnings. We know we can't get here because the dialog box isn't showing. There's no way to hit delete with it being null. So we can kind of ignore it. We could manually ignore it, or we could automatically ignore it by putting an ignore on. Look at all these warnings I get. I must have some very strict settings on here. We'll just keep going for now. So we've got our CRUD notification for success, and then we can also go ahead and show if there's an exception. We can throw an error up on the screen here, and we can say an error connecting to the database, and we can make this a Oh, warning, it's danger.
Wasn't it
What's
error?
Oh, is it error? Okay. So Bootstrap, I think, uses danger instead of error, which is weird. Right. So at least we have both messages now, where we didn't have them both before. So we will delete the item. If there's an error deleting the item, then we'll show an error. Oh, and then the whole reason we got this far was we need to set the item to null, right?
Maybe we can do that in a finally block to make sure it happens.
Yeah, you're right.
I think we always want to close it and let the user see the notification that can say there was an error, try again.
Yeah, because otherwise they'd be stuck in limbo and they wouldn't be able to get out until it finally deleted, or I guess they could
give up.
Cancel, but that's still not a good UX. So this is a better user experience. Product to delete is null, and that closes the dialog box completely. So we've got a full loop this time. Let's see if we've got it. I think we've got it, and we've still got 4 minutes to spare on my clock. And we can extend this. Whoops, this is the wrong window I'm trying to bring up. What we'll probably do on Friday is move this to a code behind, because this is going to be a lot of markup and a lot of code for one page. So if we hit delete, we can hit cancel and it goes back. Delete the we'll delete the iced tea. I'm not deleting espresso. That's just not right. I could do without iced tea though. And then boom, tea was deleted. So we've got it. We did the thing. This works.
The funny thing is that I think that in 3 weeks we'll have to throw this away.
So what Marin's talking about is we're actually building this as a built-in functionality in the grid. So this is all...
Well, at least as a dialog. I don't know if it's going to make it in the grid in this release because we got a lot on our plate, but there's going to be a confirmed dialog that's going to come out of the box. So basically the syntax is going to be in the on-click handler of the command button, of the delete command button. You'll be able to do something like await Telerik.confirm dialog, and that's going to return true or false. And then you can set is cancelled depending on the value from that dialog. And that dialog is going to probably just take the text and give you the OK and cancel buttons out of the box. So instead of all that thing we're doing, it will boil down to just a single line of code in on-click, setting the args is cancelled to await the Telerik confirm dialog.
So while you were talking, Marin, I took the method from grid command button delete and I moved it up to the top just so it matched the rest of the buttons. This should do the same thing, correct?
No. So the onDelete fires when the grid's actually telling you that the user wants to delete things. Oh wait, it might actually do the same.
I think it will. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, it will, but I thought I'd like the on-click approach better because it's going to be the way forward too, and I find it more explicit. I mean, it's more clear what's happening, to me at least.
So the donut is still there. Just refreshing to make sure. Yeah, it has the same effect for now. So I wonder.
Yeah, it's gonna work. It's going to work.
Yeah. I also noticed a bug that we'll fix on Friday. So when I move the logic for, let me refresh to make sure I get this right. When I move the logic for the groups, so when you click on edit, you get the drop down of groups. And I deferred loading these groups until you're actually in the editor. I neglected the add product. It's showing here because I hit edit first, but if I go back and I hit add product,
yep.
If you go add product first, you get no groups. So that needs to be called on both of these. So we'll do a very similar process where we add to our edit event
We have it in the on edit, and we'll have to add it to the insert button. To the add button, we'll have to use a non-click and load the items there.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll do that on Friday as well. But this is in a pretty good spot right now. I'll commit this to our current Git history, and then we'll pick this up on Friday on my channel, and we'll do some more work on this screen. It's come a long way, though. We've got confirmation of well, I need to I'll do the edit first. So if we change the price here, hit update, you'll see that we get an update message there. If we add the product, we can say update, and we get a new product is added there. Now we can delete. We have a confirmation. On Friday also, I'd like to move these buttons down. Like you said, we'll get we'll get this built in pretty soon, but we want to move this to like a bar down at the bottom. So it's a little more like other dialogues that you might see. This is kind of awkward in the positioning. So we can delete an item, and that was successful. There's also some loading animations that are hard to see unless you create a little bit of latency here. So if we go to, boy, it's hard to see.
If you manage to find a network that's at the top.
There we go. Everything was kind of cramped up. And if we throw this on a slow connection, the grid will have a loader. So the application's going to have one as well. And then when the app loads, there we go, our page gets a loader. And then this also should, I think, give us a loader. Let's try that. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. We don't get a loader when we hit delete. Do we get one?
It was very fast for some reason.
I think the delay was actually on click. Oh, I deleted espresso. I think the delay is here. So when I hit yes, that's when the actual delay is happening. Let's try and edit. We'll hit update, and then the grid there gets. So there's no loader for delete. It looks like.
Yep, there is when we handle the event ourselves, like when we handle the onDelete event, and we now removed that. So the grid doesn't know that it's deleting an item. Something's happening, it's a button, but the grid doesn't know about it, and that's why we lost that loader icon. And there is a way around that too, but maybe you can work on that on Friday. I have an idea on how to do it.
Yeah.
We can we can basically keep using the edit, I think. But I'm not sure if the loader will work, but we'll see.
So you can see we got pretty in-depth line of business app here. It has a lot of features, especially on just this one page. So we've got like full CRUD, we've got search capabilities, we've got paging, sorting, that sort of stuff. We could add filtering too here if we wanted. It's in other demos on this, so I won't add that here. But we also have grouping in here as well. So we could do grouping. So it's a pretty busy page. I mean, it's got a lot of functionality, and we just added quite a bit more stuff. I would love for people to use the Telerik UI for Blazor stuff, but if you're not using it, at least there's some patterns that you learned today that pretty much apply anywhere. This is how you'd handle these delete confirmations in most scenarios. So even if you're not a customer, which we'd like you to be, but if you're not, there's still definitely knowledge that you can bring to any application you're building. And it shows you how you can do this type of behavior there. So thank you all. And thank you, Maren, for joining me this week. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we will we'll see you all on Friday, I hope. We have TJ Vansel coming up this afternoon talking about React. So make sure you check him out on React Wednesday. We have another show here tomorrow about VR that I'm doing with Alyssa Nicole. We're going to have some fun there. We have our Xamarin team coming on shortly after that on Thursday, so tune in for them. Friday, we have Alyssa Nicole back again to talk about Angular and just CSS and HTML in general. So she has her UI Fridays show on Friday, and then Mara and I will be on my channel on Friday. We may multicast that one too. Depends on if we're going to run over their time slots or not. But you'll find it all up on our YouTube page as well. So you can always find shows that you missed. Thanks everybody for joining us, and Marin, thanks once again. We'll see
Thanks
you all
everyone.
soon.